Hey, we are live here, and we are here at South Florida Integrative Health Center. This is another edition of Integrative Insights. We're here with Ryan, uh, a holistic uh, interviewer of practitioners and getting to the bottom of what is functional medicine and holistic care for that is out there for people. And so I'm glad to be having a conversation with you today, Ryan, and to let you know how we are helping people to improve their health. So, how are you doing today, Ryan?
That's great. I'm doing
Sunny
well.
out there where you are.
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
Good.
I'm excited to be here. The weather's actually nice. It's sunny and all is well, and I'm glad to be a part of this. So thanks for having me.
Well, that's great. So, what are some of the questions that you have for a holistic nurse practitioner who has, years of experience in functional medicine? I'm sure you have some questions about what is it all about? When we say that we're treating the whole person and we're getting to the root cause. So, let's
Yeah,
have that conversation.
sure, absolutely. Well, the first off, my first question is, what is functional medicine? You've mentioned that before, and kind of as a broad overview, what is holistic or I'm sorry, what is medicine?
Well, that is a big question because we hear a lot of these terms being thrown out there. There's integrative medicine, of course. The center that I'm a part of is South Florida Integrative Health Center, and we use the word integrative, like integrative medicine. And then there's functional, and that's functional medicine, and of course, holistic, holistic health, holistic medicine. What does this all mean, and how can we really understand that? And really, more so, how does that really apply to helping us get better? So, what really comes out is over the years, we've seen that it's not just the physical side of medicine, whether it's natural or whether it's prescription. There's these other aspects of the mind and the psychosocial, this whole interaction with our social environment, our friends, and at work, and as well as whether we're feeling content in life. And that's that psychosocial, we call that. And we also use the word mind, body, and spirit. We realized in medicine, we have to put it all together. And we can't just approach it with only fixing the physical aspects of these underlying causes without helping to improve the mental part, and not just the mental meaning emotions and outlook, but also the connectivity that a person feels with others and with the greater mission they have in life. And that's another level of the mind, body, and sometimes we say spirit or soul or even energy. We're seeing that there's this energy that kind of connects us with either mother, you could say Mother Earth. And we see that apply like in grounding, where we want to just touch our feet or touch our body to the actual earth, leaning against a tree or putting our feet on a lawn, on some soil, or we're here in Miami, so we put our feet on the beach. Either way, you're getting in tune with something greater than yourself. In this case, Mother Earth, but other people connect to a greater energy, a greater spirit, and other words for that. So that's mind, body, spirit. That's the holistic part of holistic medicine, and that's one important aspect. Integrative is we're putting together from the different practices. The We integrate it, so we have massage therapy, aromatherapy, we have acupuncture, and other aspects along these lines. We're able to integrate. So we use a little bit of acupuncture. We use a little bit of massage therapy and a little bit of lymphatic drainage, aromatherapy. Put that together with these root causes and understanding the biochemistry, like lab work, and other underlying causes like the GI microbiome. And we put that all together, these practices that all contribute to overall health. And then finally, we get to functional medicine, which is really a personalized and individualized medicine where each person is unique in their biochemistry, in their way that they deal with the environment, and within their genetics, their genetic tendencies. Each one of these factors is so unique, and so the practice of functional medicine is personalized, it's individualized. And functional medicine, just like the word says, function, we're looking to improve the functioning, these underlying pathways that create optimal health. We can improve those and optimize those. Those are those underlying pathways that we improve function, and that's functional medicine, looking at biochemistry, which means how the body works, how the body detoxifies, how the body controls inflammation, how the body handles toxins. We understand these systems in the body. We look at these, the way these systems work from a very scientific, evidence-based viewpoint, and then we can go in there and optimize them using nutrients, vitamins, sometimes herbal medicines, and of course food as medicine, and that puts it all together. So that's functional medicine, and that's that answer. That, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. And I think you touched upon this in your explanation there. But to sum it up, what makes you and functional medicine different than more traditional approaches that everybody's more familiar with?
Well, that is really important. That's a big role that we play, is to fill that need where people are not getting answers for their chronic conditions. And so what we are doing is we're looking at optimal numbers within that lab, the lab ranges. The many lab reports, and pretty much most, what makes us different is that we're not looking just to see what's within that range. That range is based on the average person. And until a person gets out of that range, which means when a person gets results back on a lab test, if you look, there's this range that they say is this standard range. And quite often, whether you're at the bottom of the range or the top of the range, as long as you're within those limits, then most likely a person is told everything is fine. But see, that's not always the case. There's usually an optimal number within that range. And again, functional medicine is very personalized, very individual, based on the uniqueness of the individual. So each of these lab results has an optimal number for each person. And that's one way that we're different. The other way is that we're very proactive, looking at being preventative. Again, we're not waiting for those numbers to get out of the range where there's actually a disease now able to be diagnosed, for which then there's a medicine to be given. We're going to be way ahead of that to be proactive, where we're looking at trends of these labs. Where are those labs moving? Have they been increasing year after year? So therefore we have to be really proactive and in controlling that. And so we're looking at trends. We're looking at being proactive, very much ahead of that disease before it's diagnosed as a disease. And so therefore, on our lab work, we dig deeper and we're looking at certain labs that tell us whether there's inflammation, whether the liver is having issues with detoxification, whether there are issues with methylation, a process that our bodies use to to detox from excessive hormones or excessive toxins in the environment. So when we see that these systems are not functioning as well as they could be, then we're going to be proactive in improving that and measuring that, so we can get really good results for our patients.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
Oh, somebody's racing out there. Uh, okay, so what kind of patients do you normally you work with?
well, a lot of the patients again have been going from doctors' offices looking for an answer, because they're not diagnosed yet with a disease. They're still within the range, but yet they don't feel well. They don't feel at their optimal best. And so they're looking for answers. Why are they fatigued? Why don't they have energy? Why do they get these rashes that come and go, why are they having GI, issues such as bloating and cramping, and yet they're not getting answers. Again, some of it is because medicine is focused on a diagnosis for which then there's a medication, and like I've been saying, that there's this in between stage where the labs are within that range that they don't, you can't see that there's a disease or diagnosis. So we have patients that have not gotten answers. They're looking for answers. And because we dig deeper and because we have these in-depth labs, and we also are looking at the cutting edge research. So for example, the GI microbiome is not approached well in conventional medicine. They're looking again for pathology, whether there's actual disease, such as, for example, bloody diarrhea, certain things that are very much critical. But then there's the stage where a person goes through life not able to digest so well. They're bloated. They feel gassy, and they're not really feeling that they're using their food efficiently for energy. And so that's where this in between stage is. And so the GI microbiome has been this field of research that we're seeing that the bacteria in our gut really has an important role to play in overall health, our cardiovascular health, our metabolic health, like what it does with our blood sugars, also our mental health, how our microbiome, which means our gut bacteria, affects actually our brain health, our mental health, our outlook. It affects serotonin, which is our happy neurotransmitter. It affects GABA, which is our neurotransmitter, which makes us feel relaxed and content. And the gut bacteria affects these neurotransmitters. It affects whether our cholesterol is getting oxidized and turning into the type of cholesterol that sticks to the arteries. It affects whether we have insulin resistance and whether we can lose weight more easier. We're finding in the research that it's our microbiome, the gut bacteria, that's involved in this. So we look into that, where conventional medicine has not yet really incorporated that into their diagnoses. The insurance is not necessarily covering that, because this is the latest research about this gut microbiome. And that's an example of where we are helping patients where they're not getting answers elsewhere.
Interesting. So, what kind of, I know you touched upon that a little bit in there, but what, if you can briefly summarize, kind of different conditions do you mainly focus on and treat?
Well, these are the conditions that we see that unless they're already past the point of a diagnosis, again, the lab work has gone over the range, and of course, that's when there's a diagnosis and typically a medication to approach that, to deal with that diagnosis. Sometimes that medication is only really covering up symptoms. It's not really getting to the root cause. So a lot of the conditions we deal with are conditions that the root causes have not been addressed yet. So for example, when it comes to, for example, autoimmune conditions, quite often we see that conventional medicine is not very proactive with autoimmune conditions, or the medications are really meant to shut down parts of the immune system, or really most of the immune system, as it is with steroids or these other what they call DMARDs, and actually medications that shut down very specific parts of the immune system. They're amazing medications, very expensive, and we're still seeing if they're going to have long-term, good results with these. And but what's not being addressed is, what is the root cause? Why did the immune system turn on itself? Quite often we're seeing in the research, it could be, again, the gut microbiome, could be environmental toxins, infections, different stressors. And we look into these autoimmune conditions and dig deeper to find these underlying causes. We're looking at the GI microbiome, gut bacteria. We're looking at heavy metal or different toxicities in the environment. And we're looking for different stressors, and if there's elevated levels of stress hormones like epinephrine or that's a neurotransmitter, or cortisol. And these are the beginning ways where we can start turning that immune system around. Now, other conditions, for example, are metabolic conditions where we see insulin resistance, quite common today, and not being looked at and addressed proactively. So we do fasting insulin as well as fasting glucose because the A1C is not as accurate. It's an average of 3 months, and there are many factors that can throw off that average of blood sugars, and the A1C may not be indicative of a true metabolic condition. Fasting insulin and cortisol, as well as glucose, could really tell you a lot more. And we're looking now in a much more comprehensive way when it comes to these metabolic conditions. We're looking at markers such as adiponectin or ghrelin or leptin, that's more of this brain gut connection. These are neurohormones that are telling the body whether they're hungry or not. People are just always hungry, but the body should be telling them that they're full because they've had plenty of calories. And that's the brain now we're realizing is very much involved in weight loss and in gaining weight or losing weight. And therefore, we're very much proactive in testing for these markers, and then being proactive in addressing that, whether through nutrition or herbal supplements, vitamins, and minerals that a person might be deficient in. So metabolic conditions are very key, and along with that are cardiovascular conditions such as heart disease. Again, another top chronic disease that really they only look at in the conventional labs cholesterol, HDL, and LDL. Some of those markers are only calculated, which is not really a direct measurement of a person's, let's say, for example, LDL, which is the, so to speak, bad cholesterol. But what we're looking for is what the research is showing is that it's not just the total cholesterol or the good or the bad cholesterol, it's the particle size, meaning are these types of cholesterol getting very smaller, they're getting more dense, and even more so, they might be oxidized or there's states of inflammation. And that's what's going to cause the clogging of the arteries, not necessarily just that total cholesterol or the LDL calculated number. So we dig deeper once again on this lab work to really see those root causes of these conditions. So cardiovascular disease and metabolic conditions, as well as the body's ability to detoxify. That's another type of issue that we're dealing with, is how well a person's able to really detoxify, and that is going into the liver, phase 1 and phase 2, which is very important. As we see, there's a biochemistry of that. It's very scientific, and we really look into that so a person can optimize those detoxification systems. They can offload toxins and environmental hormones as well as their own excessive hormones. So environmental conditions that we see, that's a top condition that we see come into our center. In other words, there's toxicity and they need help with detoxification. They have higher states of inflammation. We need to dig deeper on why there's inflammation in the body. Could it be excessive growth of bacteria? That's often common. That's a very common cause, is overgrowth of bacteria that's not being measured on standard labs. We have to do a very advanced stool test that's using DNA and technology, PCR technology, that can measure the good bacteria and also this kind of neutral bacteria. If that's overgrown due to antibiotics, due to eating processed foods, or stress, alcohol, taking certain types of medication, throws off that microbiome, and that can create more inflammation. So we're looking at people that are coming into the center who are looking to control inflammation. They're looking to help their immune system, again, with autoimmune conditions, thyroid and adrenal conditions. We're optimizing, again, that's communication between the cells and the organs of the body that, again, we're looking to optimize. So thyroid, adrenal, and a very important one is brain health, because to get to the root cause of brain health is, again, through the gut. And we are learning more and more that brain health is involved with removing toxins, environmental toxins such as heavy metals, controlling and looking for infections. We see that Some infections, such as the herpes virus, can really affect over time brain health, and the gut and the brain barrier, the blood-brain barrier, can get compromised and gets inflamed really, and there's a state of oxidation that's occurring, and we can see that, we can measure and test for that, and then we can be proactive and really help a person to prevent these really the scar these conditions that are getting way more common, like Alzheimer's used to be 1 in 30, now it's 1 in 3, and diabetes used to be much less. They're saying that by the year 2020, it could be 1 in 3 as well who have type 2 diabetes, whereas before it wasn't as common. Now, with autoimmune, that's also becoming much more common. Like 70% of the population now has some type of autoimmune condition. And of course, gut issues, IBS, and other gut issues are becoming way more common. So this is what we're really focused in our integrative health center. And these are the conditions that we see.
Wow. That's some interesting stuff. I'd heard a little bit about that gut brain connection before, but the way you summed it up is really interesting. Um, I know
Thank you.
education is a really big thing to you. You know, trying to educate your patients as well as the public on some of the benefits of all this stuff. Also, probably hence the Integrative Insights web show. What can you say about that? What are your plans for Integrative Insights with Durrell?
Well, the main mission here for the Integrative Health Center, as well as our Integrative Insights, which is to really look and get the information out from what we're seeing in our practice, the everyday, what we're seeing clinically. So, because we're not just reading about this in the research and just speaking about it, we're actually applying it clinically. We're seeing patients every day with these conditions I just mentioned, and we're getting good outcomes. And we're we're really helping with these chronic conditions that people are not getting answers to because we're looking and getting to the root causes. So what we want to do with Integrative Insights is really, first of all, discuss what are the root causes. How do we approach then improving on these root causes, and what are the what are the different ways that a person can, through food. We're going to speak a lot about food and nutrition because food can be medicine. So that's going to be a big part of what we're going to be speaking about on Integrative Insights, how the different ways of eating, because again, that's very individualized, and how that can really change a person's health and improve a person's health by individualizing their food, the way that they're eating, based on their lab results, based on their GI microbiome, and all the things that all the things that I've talked about, all these labs that we're checking for, and and other things that we're learning about a person. Then we can direct it to food as medicine. That's one major aspect that we're going to discuss on Integrative Insights. The other one is going to be again, the cutting edge research. For example, what are the best ways to really see how a person's hormones can be tested? Is it blood? Is it saliva? Is it urine? What are the best ways of testing? Because quite often in functional medicine, the testing can be extensive, and there could be many different tests, but what are the right ones for each person so they can hone in on their tests and not do so many different tests that don't really apply to them? What are the best tests for them, for each person in their particular situation? So we'll discuss on Integrative Insights all the cutting edge lab testing and stool testing, the different types of urine and saliva testing that we're doing that really shows these underlying causes and root causes of disease.
Had my mic muted there. Very interesting. Well, I'm really getting more into that with you on the weeks to come, and some of these specialists that hopefully we'll have. And yeah, if I guess viewers, if you have any questions or anything like that, absolutely reach out. I'm sure Darrell, you'd love to answer any questions in the meantime, and we'll keep you guys posted on kind of things to come up, right, Darrell?
Oh, sure, sure. There's a lot of exciting things every day. There are new concepts and new scientific facts that we're learning how to really improve a person's health. And yes, we can't wait to include to bring on the other practitioners like an acupuncturist, and that we're really integrating together to really help a person, be more holistic in their improvement in health. So that's an exciting future show, is bringing on some of the other holistic practitioners. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, can't wait to get into it. Darrell, you have anything else you want to add before we close this out?
Well, I believe that's I believe, well, I would like to say how important it is for those out there watching, or who are going to be watching later on the replay. And again, you could put your comments in on Facebook, or even on YouTube. You could add questions or comments. I'll get back to you and respond. But I do want to emphasize that be proactive in your health. Get to the root cause. Make sure you're getting good extensive lab testing that really tests your vitamins and minerals, whether you have states of inflammation, whether you have inflammation, how, and even more in depth about how well the liver is detoxifying, and also whether the blood is getting thicker or thinner. These are simple lab tests, but are very important because you could see how well your health improvement plan is working for you, or how well, if what you're choosing to eat, is it causing inflammation, or is it causing your blood to get thicker, or maybe there's just not enough nutrients somewhere along the line, maybe not enough protein. In other words, be proactive in your health, because it'll save you down the road. And most of the time in regular medicine, they're just waiting for the diagnosis. They're waiting for the diagnosis for where there's going to be a medication, which only might be treating the symptoms, and those underlying causes never got addressed. So make sure that you're addressing all these underlying causes by, first of all, getting these extensive labs, even the GI microbiome, because we're seeing so much that has to do with overall health. Getting that checked, with a good, accurate microbiome test. And then you can make sure that these foundations of wellness that, that are really established in your body, and then you can go forward with your different ways of choosing how to eat, and at least you got your foundation set, these foundations of wellness that are these underlying pathways. And that's what I really would like to get that message out for everyone, that at least get started on getting those foundations of health established, and then dealing with it. Typically, if you catch it early enough, you could use food as medicine, you could use herb and vitamins and supplements. If it's later, then of course medications might be the way to do it temporarily until it can be controlled. But get started with optimizing your pathway, these underlying pathways that eventually cause chronic disease. So
All
that's my
right, cool.
message.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that's the message, and I hope people will be take that message and take control of their health.
Sounds great. Well, everybody, subscribe to us on Facebook or else, and we look forward to seeing you tuning in our future shows.
Well, thank you,
Thanks for
everyone.
having
You
me,
have a
Drew.
great, healthy day.